So those were the resources that I used to put this together. And I'll tell you a little bit about each one. Zara Extreme 5, you'll have to, the Armsby's will be able to get my Zara Extreme 5 in action for them. But you can use an alternate program. I used it for the layout. I wanted to be big because I knew my tree was big. And so this is 24 by 36. I put the parameters in. I did a lot of cropping. I had all these images that I had to get, and I cropped them, and I gave them effects. Some of them I had to make transparent so they could bleed through and you could see what was behind them. And different things of that nature. The placement, of course, this is actually not a random placement. I actually organized them in a way to where I could explain to people, well, there's my family, there's me getting married, my parents, my grandparents, and I didn't have his wedding, but that's his. So I have a little like loop-de-loop here that's taking place here. I gave it some thought and I came up with something that I thought was nice for my family.
The tribal pages, is that like ancestry or?
Tribal pages, and let me say this about it too. Tribal, I'm sorry? There's a free account. You can also subscribe. I want to say I subscribed in order to get access to this chart, yeah. And by that time I was doing enough to work, I said, I need a resource like this. So, but they do have a free account. They also have a wonderful, the way I ran into it is the Vallejo researcher. I mean, he uses tribal pages, and what a wonderful job that guy has done, along with Raul Longoria and Dan Villarreal, and I recognize names like Ormsby that I do research. Ormsby, that comes across a lot of this research. I'll tell you a couple other cool things. Let me backtrack. In the DNA stuff, I found connections to, or this one is a match. Mary Ann Curry, Curry's.net. A lot of people who have done research on it are sharing it. Can you believe that? Thank you very much. Recently, have you guys heard the name Gary Felix? Okay. My wife matched with him. My wife's not even from this area. My wife was from Leon, Guanajuato. And she was a match with Gary way back, but still, it's like, oh, I know that guy. All right. So, wow, thank you so much. Can I try it with this? All right. No, it's not going. I think what I did last time was I took this out and put it back in. It did, really. Yeah, now it's going. Try it. All right. Oh yeah, there's a little bit more background. Oh, remember I was telling you why I like this picture so much? You get to see their living area. Look at the back of their house, the truck they had, the ranch truck, the gun I was telling you about. And again, that's not for animals. That's that's to keep safe. All right. So.
That's the rifle you're talking about?
Yes. Is someone good at rifles?
Well, it's interesting that I have all magic
Yes. Yes, very interesting.
Sir, La Jara, what city?
La Jara Ranch is actually between the two, look at the connection here, between the two salt lakes. La Jara is not almost between the two salt lakes. The closest city is probably Raymondville and Willacy.
Okay, wasn't it called La Jarrita Ranch? In Lyford? There's La Jarrita Ranch, where his grandmother was born.
That's separate.
Separate?
Yeah, that's close to Santa Monica.
Okay.
Yeah. This one is close to Jesus Maria Ranch, if you've heard of Jesus Maria. I better keep using this or it's going to betray me again. All right. So I'm using their Extreme 5. I've talked about the placement and design. This is the part where I want you guys to pay the most attention. This is where I came to teach you. This is the moment we've been waiting for. I don't have my band to play them, but that's the elements. All right. I'm using, of course, I have to use American investigation. I'm able to Francisco Antonio Davila. I shared about Rosa Maria. She's wanting her motherhood to Francisco Miguel to be secret. I don't know what's going on there. I'm using white as my DNA still. I'm not that convinced that Francisco Antonio is the father, but he's listed as the father in several documents. It's a good story, by the way. All right. I'm using this. Look at this. In 1910, my Juan de Dios Davila is listed as a cowboy. You don't get many census records that list people's, I mean, they do exist. I've seen others, but mine is there. You want a Dallas cowboy? I don't need one. I got my own right here. Marriage pictures. I was able to string 3 of them together. 1, 2, 3. I wish I could have gone farther. So that's important. I think those are important. Those are key life events that you want, right? I'm using my granduncles as my base, because that's my grandfather. My grandfather died in 1926 at the age of 26. Didn't quite get to meet him, right? So that's why these pictures are absolute golden. There's another one of him up here. I call this his, without being presumptuous, he's in Paul Newman over here. He was a good-looking man, unlike some of his descendants. Anyway, from Hidalgo County, I was able to capture some tax rolls, and I think that's where I got this Hidalgo County. Marks and brands, the Davila ranchers, according to Alonso, Dr. Alonso, he was right. They had a lot of Davila horse brands and cattle brands. So I was able to capture some of those. The Hidalgo County Courthouse, I have to share this. I'm getting the word out because now it's my obligation. At first I felt a little weird about it. Esteban Davila was a presiding justice between 1874 and 1876 in Hidalgo County. You've probably never heard of that, but I know you've heard of John McAllen and all the things that he did in Hidalgo County. And I know you've heard of the name Thaddeus Rhodes. Guess what? There are other names out there that made a contribution. This man was one of them. That's why I chose, that's what was great. He ended up being the focal point of my tree. He's the one that had the biggest branches everywhere. So between 1874 and 1876, those were troubling times to be an Hispanic politician anywhere on this side. He was, right? So for some reason he wasn't there very long, but that's another story. Thaddeus Rhodes took his place. After, and this is in the McAllen book, Asleep in Texas, he beat John McAllen in 1874. That's who he won the election against. All right. So there it is. Esteban Davila was a figure in the founding of Hidalgo County. I'm kind of happy about that. So Reynosa Plaza, this lovely lady here, my grandmother, who also died, she died when she was 22, 1927, 1 year after my grandfather. Never met this lovely lady. Her family, she's Guadalupe Garza Rodriguez, and her family, this is the Plaza de Reynosa right here. Her family, her descendants still own the property adjacent to the plaza right here in the corner. And direct descendants of Ignacio de la Garza, Porción 3 on the Reynosa side. So I included that.
What is the name of the people that still own that?
I don't know who has the actual ownership.
The original?
Yes. When they moved the town to Las Lomas de San Antonio, they had to, I think they were awarded who was it that gave the land out? Bailly? One of the Bailly said, okay, I'm giving this land out in order of your seniority, maybe, something like that. So he, being one of the original settlers, got one of them right next to the plaza.
My father's brother married one of the
From that same one? What is the daughter?
Well,
I know my second cousin.
I'm going to find out.
Okay. Yes. Lovely, lovely people. Unlike some of them. Reynosa, I also included included the bridge. This is such a significant thing to me. As a young child and a young man, I crossed that bridge so many times back and forth. I had family on both sides. It didn't mean anything. My other ancestors, the Davilas were horse ranchers and cattle raisers. They didn't see the river the way the river is seen now. When the cattle needed to be fed over here, that's where they went. When the cattle were, that's where they went. The land was friendly on both sides.
It wasn't a border, it was
wasn't
a
a
river,
border.
and that's why they settled there, to protect the water.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, so that's significant to me. Esteban, I later learned that he was born in Reynosa. I had his birth baptism. I was able to recover that. Back then, you can find, in that time period, you can find baptism. I got his. So, yes, I want to show the bridge to show how we connect Hidalgo County to Reynosa. Senderos book, during one of the celebrations of the anniversary of Reynosa, my father was asking him, he was born and raised in that little place that I told you here next to the plaza. And he wrote a book called Senderos al Horizonte. I included it here because he wrote about so many things of growing up. They called him Bernal the Cronista, what's his name, the one that passed away recently, Isasi, called him Bernal del Castillo of Reynosa. Bernal del Castillo being the person who wrote of the conquest of Mexico. It would have been a foot soldier. All right, so I included this little image here. My family, I've mentioned here. My pedigree chart is Davila. As I mentioned, he's the one that had the most. And thankfully, because if I were to put mine, it's like, so what? Here's a close-up of it, and here's Esteban. And of course, there's still blanks in here. Some of them are probably blanks in a lot of them, in your trees. Antonia Ramirez. My thinking is that some of the trees run out indicates that they were probably native, indigenous, however you want to frame it. So it's not going to be a record anymore. They were from where no records previously existed. All right. The tribal pages I mentioned, free account I started with. I upgraded to a subscription. For this reason, chart now. I'm in my account here. I'm in the view section. I'm going to the printable charts. This is the one that I chose. These others are available. Moises Garza, where is he? Where's his chart? Did you pick it up? He brought a beautiful fan chart. You don't have to go through the process that I did. You can also use, I want to say it's called weekly trigger, but that'll be something that can also be shared. This is what he used this time. I used this one. All right. You might here's my motivation to do my research, my son. That's where eds.vii, because his favorite number was 7. So if you want to write my email, if you want to contact me about any of this information, ADDS, his initials, .vii, it's in Roman numeral 7, @gmail.com. All right, so I chose the 9-generation chart because, again, I was able to get all this information. Look at this, 24 by 36, the standard size for frames and prints. So that worked out. Oh, let me mention, I would be remiss. My daughter was born a year later, and I'm hoping that someday that they both benefit from this. But he was the reason I said, oh, now I have a young boy here. What am I going to tell him? That's why I need to present. This is an example of why it wouldn't have worked for me to use another person in my tree. My grandfather, his tree runs out right away, and everyone else up and down the line did. Again, this is the probably last best consideration for you to take. You have to find the right person you want to display. Somebody said it earlier. If you don't, yes, Ms. Torres said, if it's not yours, use someone else that you can feel okay to share. So I used Esteban, and that's where what was fortunate in my case is that he actually played a role somewhat in the development of the Hidalgo County. Not somewhat, he did. I don't need to be shy. All right. This is what I used to put this together. The thing about tribal pages, and I don't know if it'll work in other areas, you're able to create a PDF when you get your chart, and it tells you the size. What I liked about it is my program was able to import that, the thing you see over all the pictures, and it treats it as text. And that was very critical because I could go in there and edit, and I could go in there and move people's names around. Others will give you an image to where you can't work with the names, right? So that was an important feature. And that's what I felt. That's what I felt like when looking back at it. Do you agree with me or not? I mean, look, I even put the sayings for him. I felt like the king of the forest. Like I finally had a brain. What was this guy for? But no, he was courage. But he was the king of the forest.
Courage.
Yeah, he was courage?
Courage.
The lion was courage, yeah, king of the forest. Forest because it's genius. Heart, oh yeah. And I believed in rainbows again somewhere over there.
The heart.
All right. See, I didn't remember that I had a heart. That's pretty bad. This was the very last step. I used Walgreens. It's so easy. There's like about 5 Walgreens all around where I live. It's like, and another thing I found was like, well, I want to send this to my brother. I could send it to anyone. Any Walgreens and say, well, go pick it up. It's over there. I didn't do it with this, but I did it with some other projects, and it works really well. You're going to be able to, if you use this service or a Walmart or something like that, they can pick it up wherever you want. You can even make them pay for it. So,
Are you Jewish?
I didn't, you know, it's like, I did my bits, like, no, and I'm going like this and I'm looking, no, but I did find a lot of connections to Monterrey. A lot of connections. So, in summary, this is the summary. Canvas, explore, harvest, connect, the matrix, look at all the bullet technology. A little bit of magic, the magic of DNA. Right? That's my summary. There's no one like family, there's no place like home, and there's no place like this valley.